Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 36 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. This is serious trouble. At the Flame Wind Pavilion, both Emperor Chu Yu and the Deputy Pavilion Master were trembling in their hearts. In the entire world, only the godly kings and those in the primal chaos realm were considered high-level beings, and every existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos was not to be trifled with. Even the imperial clansmen of the Flame Wind ancient country wouldn't provoke them without good cause. Because the existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos, their spiritual will was at least at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, and might even be at the godly king's will. Once they used the reincarnation secret art, they could be reborn with their complete memories intact. Who would dare to cause trouble relying on their background against such beings? If pushed too far, they would simply kill you. After killing, they could just reincarnate. No matter how big your background, you can't find the reincarnated identity of the other party. Moreover, there was an unspoken agreement in the Land of Origin. When those in the primal chaos realm clash, the god kings wouldn't intervene easily without sufficient reason. Therefore, outside of the two ancient countries, the pinnacle of primal chaos was already the most powerful deterrent under normal circumstances. We can't help him, the Deputy Pavilion Master shook his head. This Luo, he is too reckless. When his strength was weak, why did he insist on acting on impulse? Perhaps he thought he could protect himself. Emperor Chu Yu frowned. But the power of an existence at the pinnacle of primal chaos is terrifying indeed, far stronger than those newly advanced to the primal chaos realm. This is bad. At the city owner's mansion, General Yue Wu's facial expression slightly changed. Even for just a little face, Marquis Liu Yin will have to take action, said General Yong Hu at his side. I'm worried that Marquis Liu Yin will take out his wrath on the entire Huyang city, General Yue Wu said. Yong Hu looked at Yue Wu in surprise. General Yue Wu continued, Marquis Liu Yin is called the catastrophe of the world. Normally, when he takes action, it represents the coming of a catastrophe. And given the great humiliation this time, his actions will only be more ruthless. Don't worry, my master has bestowed upon me a life-saving treasure, and I will take you away when the time comes, General Yue Wu sighed. But I cannot protect the whole Huyang city. Upon hearing this, Yong Hu immediately nodded. He was also touched. They were all disciples of the monarch of Yu country. But among the disciples of the monarch of Yu country, Yue Wu was treated 10 times better than them, even having a life-saving treasure. Did Master kill Liu Yinyang, so Marquis Liu Yin is going to make a move. Mu Qingyang was very worried about her master and couldn't help but look towards Morosa. Don't panic, Morosa comforted, looking up. Over this period, Luo Feng had sparred with him many times. He was the one who knew his master's strength best. The dark red armored figure in the sky looked at Luo Feng with a cold gaze. Good, I hope when the time comes for you to die, you're still as confident. Having said that, this incarnation dissipated into the air, vanishing between heaven and earth. Luo Feng turned his head to look towards the distant Heart Shadow sect base. Boom! A terrifying and oppressive aura had exploded from the Heart Shadow sect base. The true body of Marquis Liu Yin had already arrived here with the help of the spacetime treasure bestowed upon the Heart Shadow sect. He's here, Luo Feng muttered as he watched. He's here, Emperor Chu Yu, the Deputy Pavilion Master, Marquis of Jujiang, and the others all took notice of the terrifying aura erupting from the Heart Shadow sect base, an aura that made their hearts tremble. Marquis Liu Yin stood at the Heart Shadow sect base, looking up at Luo Feng from a distance. Luo Feng also looked at him. Courageous, Marquis Liu Yin said softly. Suddenly he vanished into thin air. And in an instant, the entire sky darkened, followed by the spread of endless blood fire that seemed like blood vessels extending across the sky. What's this? What's happening to the sky? Countless cultivators in Huyang City were looking at the sky in horror, as the blood fire spread like veins across the entire sky, turning it completely dark red. Under the shadow of the dark red sky, a sense of calamity spread, even making the cultivators feel as if death was approaching. At the Heart Shadow sect, Master of the Heart Shadow sect and the 18 elders looked up at this sight. When the Marquis bestowed the space-time treasure to me, it was for me to arrive instantly, to deal with Marquis of Jujiang, the master of the Heart Shadow sect said as he watched. Who would have thought that this Luo he would seek death by offending the Marquis? Could this Luo he be relying on something, that he dares to be so arrogant? An elder spoke up. Among the primal chaos overlords, those who can be called pinnacle of primal chaos are few and far between. This Marquis Liu Yin is in existence on par with great Saint Jiu Yuan. How could there possibly be a newly advanced primal chaos realm being capable of withstanding him? Elder Heart Eye shook his head. The Heart Shadow sect had fallen due to great Saint Jiu Yuan. Elder Heart Eye and the others had also carefully understood the differences between those in the primal chaos realm and knew the terror of ones like great Saint Jiu Yuan and Marquis Liu Yin. Marquis Liu Yin only asked him to hand over the envoy of the Snow Realm and to compensate 10 billion cosmic sand, he said. Those in the primal chaos realm have strong life-saving capabilities. Now let's see how good Luo his life-saving secret technique is, they said. The Heart Shadow sect watched on. They could only hide far away from such a high-level confrontation. Previously, too, they had watched from a distance as great Saint Jiu Yuan fought against the Heart Shadow sect's 3 primal chaos realm beings. Using the sect's formation, in the end, the formation was broken, 1 died and 2 fled. Luo Feng looked at the dark red sky, which extended for billions of miles, with the aura of calamity spreading far and wide. Suddenly, a giant face appeared in the dark red sky. That was the face of Marquis Liu Yin. This is my world. Can your life-saving secret technique escape from my world? The giant face looked at Luo Feng. As for reincarnation? You, a newly advanced primal chaos being, can you awaken your memories after reincarnation? Only those with godlikings can remain fully aware, clear-headed even as a fetus. The primal chaos pinnacle beings, once reincarnated, have an uncertain time for awakening memories. It could happen in youth, or even when one is a true god of void space or an eternal true god. If one dies again without awakening memories, then that death is truly final. Marquis Liu Yin, did you ask my permission before you made your move? A voice rang out. Marquis of Jujiang appeared out of nowhere above Huyang City, standing beside Luo Feng. He looked up at the dark red sky. Was tilde. The void vibrated suddenly, its ripples covering the dark red sky, making the entire sky blurry. Luo he, take the chance to get away while I hold off Marquis Liu Yin. Marquis of Jujiang glanced at Luo Feng and immediately sent a telepathic message, take your friend and leave quickly. I won't be able to hold off Marquis Liu Yin for long. With Marquis Liu Yin in a rage, I fear he might take it out on the entire Huyang city. Of course, if I end up winning, that would be the best. The Marquis of Jujiang chuckled, then completely vanished as he merged into the void. Knowing full well that his chances of victory were slim, the Marquis of Jujiang still wanted to fight and settle the battle once and for all. Who's stronger? Who's weaker? Only a fight would tell. Boom tilde. In the vast and mighty Bloodfire world, its power was terrifying, but there was also an invisible layer of void ripples covering the Bloodfire world, suppressing it. Marquis of Jujiang, you think you can stop me? Suddenly, millions of Marquis Liu Yin's Bloodfire figures appeared, each one swinging out a blade of Bloodfire light which instantly tore through the void ripples. Extinguish! With a cold shout, suddenly a net of void appeared in the world, its dense web of void instantly slicing through the millions of Marquis Liu Yin figures, shredding them all into pieces. Luo Feng watched all this unfold. In terms of realm, they are both above me. Luo Feng realized the gap between them as he observed their fight. In terms of realm, the moves of both Marquis Liu Yin and Marquis of Jujiang were incredibly mysterious, far more powerful than his own straightforward techniques, to the point where he couldn't even pinpoint their true bodies. As strength increases, it's not just the power that grows immensely but the techniques also become more inconceivable, Luo Feng observed carefully. Although he had gathered a lot of information about the primal chaos realm, it was still not as good as witnessing it with his own eyes. Since he became a creature of the primal chaos realm, the only one he had fought with was Morosa. Luo he, why aren't you leaving? Emperor Chu Yu, the master of the Flame Wind Pavilion, urgently sent a telepathic message, now that the Marquis of Jujiang is holding the other off, you must leave immediately. Let me gauge the situation first, Luo Feng responded, watching intently. You. I really don't understand why you're so confident. Here is the most detailed information on Marquis Liu Yin. Emperor Chu Yu, unable to persuade him, immediately sent a detailed dossier. Marquis Liu Yin is known as the disaster of the world. At this moment, his true body is not any physical form, but that blood-fire world itself. The world is him, and he is the world. Luo Feng reviewed the information on Marquis Liu Yin. The information provided by Emperor Chu Yu was extremely detailed, even including many recorded battle scenes. Luo Feng was too poor to afford detailed information on such top-tier beings of the primal chaos. Thank you, Pavilion Master. Luo Feng sent his thanks through telepathy. Luo He, you not leaving? I can't hold him off any longer. The Marquis of Jujiang sent an urgent telepathic message. Thud 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 tilde tilde tilde. The whole blood-fire world seemed to boil, with annihilation everywhere, and the Marquis of Jujiang, hidden within the void, found it increasingly difficult to withstand as he burned his divine power. Marquis of Jujiang, if you can't hold out, then let me take over, Luo Feng said with a slight smile. Take over? The concealed Marquis of Jujiang was shocked. All eyes were on Luo Feng as he looked up at the endless blood-fire world. Boom rumble tilde tilde tilde. A rolling torrent of silver river suddenly swept across a vast expanse. Its extent was so grand that it was in no way inferior to the blood-fire world itself. All cultivators in Huyang City had noticed that a silver river flowed over every road and every residential area, providing perfect protection for Huyang City, preventing any cultivator from being harmed by the blood-fire world. I have cultivated 15 kinds of transformation methods, but when it comes to large-scale maneuvers, the galaxy transformation method is still what I'm best at, thought Luo Feng. During this era, he had also visited the Primal Chaos Layer and captured some Primal Chaos Layer creatures. Thus he upgraded his transformation methods to 15 kinds. However, Luo Feng only used 5 kinds of transformation methods on himself. Rise. At the thought of Luo Feng, myriad vast silver blade lights began to levitate, a total of 8,000 blade lights suspended at the same time. HM? The Marquis Liu Yin, transformed into the endless bloodfire world, watched this scene with confusion because these 8,000 blade lights looked mighty, but there was no burning of divine power. Slash! Luo Feng looked up at the sky. The 8,000 galaxy blade lights were simultaneously executing the blade technique Blade River Slash. It was a move that Luo Feng had created as his realm gradually improved. The Blade River Slash pursued simplicity and purity, with Luo Feng removing some intricate variations, even eliminating the targeting of space itself, to seek only the most fundamental power. As a result, Blade River Slash was much less taxing on the heart force. Moreover, after the perfect divine body reached its limits of growth, nurtured by the physical body, his soul grew larger, enabling him to divide his attention among even more blade lights. With these improvements, Luo Feng was able to cast 8,000 blade lights with but a single thought. Rumble rumble tilde 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 tilde. Even without targeting space, maintaining only the purest power. As the 8,000 blade lights erupted at once, layer after layer of space instantly shattered into pieces, utterly defenseless. Wherever the blade lights enveloped, everything was annihilated, everything returned to primal chaos. With the blade lights rampaging, all the layers of space were crushed, even touching the outermost membrane of the entire world. This layer of membrane was the braided cage membrane. Under the rampaging of the 8,000 blade lights, this braided cage membrane remained incredibly tenacious and unshakable. Purely relying on power to break through the braided cage? Such force was still far from sufficient. Whether it was Marquis of Jujiang, Emperor Chu Yu, or Marquis Liu Yin who faced the devastating 8,000 blade lights, they were all astonished. The 8,000 blade lights ravaged an area of hundreds of billions of kilometers, shattering all layers of space down to the final braided cage membrane. Even the bloodfire world was partly destroyed in an instant. Within this area, unless one could merge with the braided cage membrane, there was no escape. One could only withstand this strike head-on. I'm actually injured? Since Marquis Liu Yin had been able to turn into the bloodfire world, it had been a long time since he was injured. You are not a newly advanced primal chaos cultivator. As the 8,000 blade lights converged and the bloodfire world spread again, the giant face looked at Luo Feng. You possess the strength of the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. Dressed in a black robe, stepping on the endless silver river, Luo Feng looked up at the bloodfire world. Who told you that I am a newly advanced primal chaos cultivator? Marquis Liu Yin, I secluded myself in Huyang City, and you were the one who provoked me. Living in seclusion in Huyang City? The enormous face in the sky seemed somewhat incredulous. In the land of origin, not every cultivator from the primal chaos realm was willing to join a nation and be granted a title because, although owning a fief brought a continuous output of resources, it also tied them to too many obligations. The more one possessed, the more entwining the consequences became. Many from the primal chaos realm preferred to occupy a remote area and cultivate in peace. Great ones like Great Saint Jiu Yuan, Great Saint Luo Feng, and others did the same. They gave up many resources but also avoided many troubles. Some of them went into complete hiding, disguised as ordinary cultivators, quietly cultivating and hoping that one day they would fully comprehend the Tao and step into the godly king tier. I attacked the Jujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, and I actually encountered a hidden cultivator at the pinnacle of primal chaos. Marquis Liu Yin felt that his luck was particularly bad, and he even once proposed a hiring price of 2 billion cosmic sand. If he had known he was a hidden cultivator at the pinnacle of primal chaos, let alone 2 billion cosmic sand, even 20 billion cosmic sand, Marquis Liu Yin would gladly have paid to hire him. But now, everything was too late. The situation had developed to this point. This hidden cultivator Luo He had completely moved to the opposition. This brother Luo He is actually at the pinnacle of primal chaos. Marquis of Jujiang, who had escaped and appeared inside the city owner's mansion, was utterly delighted. 1 billion cosmic sand could hire someone from the pinnacle of primal chaos? What kind of luck is this? Luo He. In the dark crimson sky, that enormous face stared at Luo Feng. As a hidden cultivator of the primal chaos realm, must you interfere in the conflict between Marquis of Jujiang and me? I originally had no intention of intervening. What does your feud over fiefs have to do with me? Luo Feng shook his head lightly, but your subordinates have repeatedly killed the innocent, and it happened within the city where I reside in seclusion. How could I tolerate this? Marquis Liu Yin's thoughts shifted. Indeed. Shui Yun committed a massacre originally, and in the end, Luo He chased him out of the city and still killed Shui Yun. The Heart Shadow sect entered the city, and initially, Luo He was tolerant. But when the Heart Shadow sect began to loot the entire city and slaughter on a large scale, Luo He took action. The two armies clashed. From start to finish, Luo He demonstrated the overwhelming strength of an eternal true god, taking 1 billion cosmic sand, and indeed played the role worthy of 1 billion cosmic sand. However, when Liu Yinyang captured 10 billion blood food, Luo He made his move. A bunch of idiots, bringing me great trouble. Marquis Liu Yin looked down upon Luo Feng, and although he understood that the situation had turned sour, he was still full of confidence in himself. Luo He, no matter the reason, since you have intervened, I want to see whether you really have the power to interfere. Marquis Liu Yin's voice resonated powerfully. Hum tilde tilde tilde. The sound, carrying a sinister attack of will, arrived in an instant. Marquis Liu Yin, as a cultivator at the pinnacle of primal chaos, had his spiritual will honed over the long years to barely enter the godly king tier. Knowing Luo He's fearsome strength, he began to give his all. Your secret technique of willpower, buzzing like an insect? Luo Feng frowned slightly. It's truly annoying. His will is not at all inferior to mine, completely unshakable. Marquis Liu Yin became even more certain. This was an old fellow who had cultivated for who knows how long, his spiritual will honed to an extremely terrifying degree. If you have no tricks left, just scram. Luo Feng flicked his sleeve. 8,000 galaxy-like blade light swept across, instantly sweeping the heavens and earth, cleansing all. The blood fire was all extinguished, leaving only a primal chaos current. While Marquis Liu Yin's incarnation of the blood fire world covered a vast area. Luo Feng's 8,000 galaxy only impacted less than 1/10 of it, and even knowing Luo Feng's technique afterward, Marquis Liu Yin's divine power retreated to a far distance. The damage this time was much smaller than the first. Accompanied by many spatial layers naturally healing, the world returned to calm, the bloodfire world spread over once again. HMPH. Along with a cold snort in the world. Then, bloodfire ignited on Luo Feng's body surface as he carefully felt it. To himself, he seemed to have become the enemy of a vast world, endless malice converging upon him, with bloodfire burning and corroding. No trace, eroding my body out of thin air. Luo Feng looked in surprise. Compared to my foolish 8,000 blade light, Marquis Liu Yin's technique is indeed much more bizarre. Useless? The incarnation of the bloodfire world, Marquis Liu Yin indeed sensed that the bloodfire could hardly damage Luo Feng's body. Booming tilde. Suddenly, the entire bloodfire world erupted with booming sounds. The world's power of this bloodfire world nearly converged at one point, and in front of Luo Feng out of nowhere, a figure clad in dark crimson armor appeared. The moment this dark crimson armored figure appeared, he had already chopped towards Luo Feng's shoulder. Luo Feng was quick to react, otherwise, the blow would have landed on his head. This is the world's body? Luo Feng had learned detailed information about Marquis Liu Yin from Emperor Chu Yu, knowing that this dark crimson armored figure was not Marquis Liu Yin's true body, but the world's body formed from the conjured power of the entire bloodfire world. The world's body, gathering the power of an entire world, held immense strength, making close combat naturally terrifying. And even if it was destroyed, it would only disperse into the world's force, not harming Marquis Liu Yin's true body. Such a strong blade, and it appeared suddenly before me, hardly giving me any chance to dodge. Luo Feng still stood in midair, looking at the blade edge on his shoulder. The dark crimson armored figure had struck Luo Feng's shoulder and was also astonished. Because the blade had an even cut through Luo Feng's black robe on his shoulder. As for the skin, it was completely unscathed. Hiss, tilde. Luo Feng's black robe on his body surface instantly had countless black liquids flowing, instantly enveloping the blade, and even enveloping the entire body of the dark crimson armored man. Engaging me in close combat? Luo Feng shook his head lightly. Of the 15 transformation methods he mastered, apart from the galaxy transformation method that specialized in domain techniques, the other methods were oriented towards close combat. Luo Feng carefully selected 5 transformation methods to use regularly. Thus, in regular combat, the galaxy transformation method was used for long-range encounters, while the other 4 methods were for close combat. Luo Feng's close combat strength was far more terrifying than his long-range capabilities. Hiss tilde. The man clad in dark red armor wrapped in black liquid, under the horrific constraints of immense force, disintegrated instantly, leaving only the long blade with blood-fire patterns behind. What a fine weapon, Luo Feng said, holding the blade. For the body of the world to have enough explosive close combat strength, Marquis Liu Yin naturally equipped it with the best weapon, which was a top-quality weapon among those in the primal chaos realm. This blade, suitable for a pinnacle of primal chaos cultivator, is worth at least 5 billion cosmic sand, Luo Feng commented approvingly, then quickly stowed it away in the star tower. Luo Feng looked up at the bloodfire world high in the sky. Marquis Liu Yin, do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? Luo Feng asked leisurely. How is that possible? At that moment, Marquis Liu Yin couldn't believe it. My world's body, empowered by the entire strength of the bloodfire world, immensely powerful, yet it was so easily overcome by that black liquid. The oppressive binding force crushed the world's body instantaneously. The gap in close combat was too vast. No wonder I thought his techniques were crude. It turns out he specializes in his physical body, which is far stronger than my world's body. Marquis Liu Yin instantly recognized their disparity. Every pinnacle of primal chaos realm cultivator has their own path they excel in. Marquis Liu Yin's forte was transforming into the bloodfire world, rendering his true body untouchable by enemies. Yet, if one focused on physical prowess and cultivated to the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, their physical body would be tremendously terrifying. Even ancient beings who had just entered the godly king tier found it incredibly challenging to completely obliterate a physical body at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. Such powerful beings were suited for confinement, sealing. Typically, they required a long period of attrition to gradually erase them. Your godly body is strong, but I want to see if it truly has no weaknesses. Marquis Liu Yin, unwilling to give up easily, let the blood-fire world surge vehemently, as formless forces constantly descended, attempting to penetrate Luo Feng's godly body. These formless forces included strange blood, burning flames, and the power of calamities. All sorts of bizarre forces kept infiltrating. Marquis Liu Yin knew well that while some powerful physical bodies appeared invincible, if infiltrated by some special forces, they might just succeed and completely erode them. You want to wear down my godly body? Ha ha ha. Luo Feng suddenly burst into laughter. Boom tilde tilde tilde. Luo Feng's stature suddenly surged to an unimaginably immense height. He had passed through countless cloud layers, and his head had reached the edge of the starry sky. Looking up, Luo Feng could see countless miniature galaxies. At this moment, one of his fingertips was much larger than Jujiang City. The vastness of his size shocked even Marquis Liu Yin. What? He can maintain such a massive godly body? Marquis Liu Yin exclaimed, touching the edge of the starry space. Although an unlimited godly body can be large or small, the larger it is, the stronger the world suppression it faces. Standing on the ground with his head touching the edge of the starry space. Moreover, higher realms, under supreme rules, forbid touching, preventing damage to those miniature galaxies. This height was now the maximum a cultivator could achieve in size. Only a venerable godly king can reach this height. Even focusing on the physical body at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, such a size is somewhat inconceivable. Marquis Liu Yin was well aware that sometimes, size could indeed indicate strength. A godly body maintained at such a celestial height signifies endless might. Begone! Luo Feng bellowed, his palms covering the entire blood-fire world, and with a wave, he completely shattered it into primal chaos. Buzz! When the blood-fire world shattered, using the world's power, the formless force instantly escaped to a far distance. There it transformed into a blood-fire body, now the significantly more injured Marquis Liu Yin. Luo He, if you're willing to stay out of the conflict between me and Marquis of Jujiang, we can discuss terms. Marquis Liu Yin spoke from afar. I've got this place secured, the towering godly body as high as the heavens declared mightily, his voice booming. Marquis Liu Yin's expression turned grim. He knew well that he had territories, numerous subordinates, countless clan members, and much too much at stake. And Luo He? Merely a recluse at the pinnacle of primal chaos. Those close to him amounted to an old servant and a disciple. Such an unburdened cultivator at the pinnacle of primal chaos would give even a godly king headaches. They would not be easily provoked. HMPH. Marquis Liu Yin merged with the world in an instant and disappeared from sight. All over Jujiang City, countless cultivators looked up, but due to the thick clouds obscuring their view, they only saw the waste area of an endless, imposing godly body clad in a massive black robe, imposing a terrifying pressure on them. A godly body as tall as the heavens. Marquis of Jujiang looked upward, knowing that focusing on the physical body to reach the pinnacle of primal chaos realm was terrifying, but facing such an imposing godly body directly, the oppressive feeling was overwhelmingly intense. Jujiang looked up, her eyes somewhat glazed over. Is this my master? Luo Feng stood with his feet planted on the ground and his head touching the edge of the starry sky, looking down at the tiny figure of Marquis Liu Yin as he merged into the heavens and the earth and disappeared from sight. I am extremely strong in close combat, but my means of trapping an enemy are quite lacking. Marquis Liu Yin could leave as he wished, and I could not stop him at all, thought Luo Feng. After all, he had only stepped into the pinnacle of primal chaos realm for a relatively short period. This battle made the outside world regard him as a cultivator fixated on his physical body, at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. But Luo Feng was well aware that his physical body was so strong partly because his perfect divine body had grown to its limit and was comparable to the top of the primal chaos realm. On the other hand, by comprehending various transformation methods with the formless and intangible ability, these transformation methods were even more effective than some body refining methods for him. At the extreme growth of the perfect divine body, its most basic composition was still divine power. As for the transformation method, its most basic units contained life spirituality, and it had undergone a qualitative change. The change in form had made the perfect divine body much more formidable. Who? Luo Feng instantly shrank back to his normal size and landed within the city owner's mansion. Brother Luo He, Marquis of Jujiang approached excitedly at that moment, his face full of gratitude and with a very humble posture. I never expected that our small Jujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture would have Brother Luo He come to live in seclusion. It truly is a blessing for our entire prefecture. Previously, I mistook Brother Luo He for an eternal true god and was truly negligent, so negligent. Marquis of Jujiang is too kind, said Luo Feng. Speaking of which, he had met Marquis of Jujiang only a handful of times, so naturally, their feelings for each other were not very deep. However, during those few interactions, Marquis of Jujiang had been quite generous. When Marquis Liu Yin initially made a move, Marquis of Jujiang also helped to intercept, and Luo Feng felt quite fond of Marquis of Jujiang. Brother Luo He, I've prepared some ordinary food and drinks, let's sit down and talk. Marquis of Jujiang had already arranged everything, warmly leading the way. Please, Luo Feng nodded, and at the same time, he glanced at Mu Qingyang and Morosa in the distance, nodding slightly. Mu Qingyang was somewhat excited. To think my master is so powerful, various thoughts emerged in Mu Qingyang's mind, feeling as if she were floating on air. It was all too surreal. Of course, the master is powerful, Morosa remarked from nearby. Lord Luo Sa, the outside world once thought you were the master's protector, Mu Qingyang whispered. I'm not worthy to be the master's protector, I am truly just a servant, Morosa said with a sigh, speaking the truth as even his soul had been enslaved, he was an absolute servant. Morosa knew very well. His master, Luo Feng, was a cultivator who could naturally blend in with some of the major forces of the land of origin. But as for himself, Morosa, he had to hide in the shadows, and even making a move required much consideration. Speaking of which, it was the master who was his protector. Kid, seize the opportunity, Morosa said to Mu Qingyang, to become the master's only disciple is your great fortune, you must treasure this chance. I understand, Mu Qingyang nodded. Becoming the direct disciple of a being at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm was a tremendous opportunity, and she naturally needed to act cautiously and considerately. Morosa watched this scene. This lucky child. The master was not merely a common figure at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm. At this moment, the conversation between Morosa and Mu Qingyang, seen from afar by other cultivators, was enviable. Is this the strength of Lord Luo He? General Yuewu, Moli Xiao, Lord of Huyang City, and a host of eternal true gods were all shocked. This being actually shed tears listening to Araya's music, to my music, the Dream Flower Tower master thought to himself, probably moved at heart, thus shedding tears, indeed true to his emotions. This being, who is even stronger than Marquis Liu Yin, was actually willing to help me avenge my grievances. Jiaorongqi looked on from a distance. To many cultivators, this might be the first time they had seen such an immense divine body, and even Marquis of Jujiang felt an extreme pressure. One could only imagine the shock it had on the spirit of ordinary cultivators. Flame Wind Pavilion. Brother Luo He turned out to be a pinnacle of primal chaos realm existence. Emperor Chuyu was quite emotional. It seems, however, that he is wholly devoted to godly body cultivation. His other aspects seem a bit weak. In the primal chaos realm, there are dozens in the land of origin who are adept at godly body cultivation. But those who stand as tall as heaven and earth. In the entire land of origin, figures at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm can be counted on one's fingers, the deputy pavilion master said with emotion. Being from the imperial clan of Flame Wind ancient country, his experience was very broad. Emperor Chuyu smiled. There's no need to fret too much. An unlimited godly body at the primal chaos realm, trying to grow tall enough to match heaven and earth is extremely difficult. Those who focus on body refinement are seeking a stronger godly body, not height. Take for instance, the well-renowned Marquis Minghua from my Flame Wind ancient country who focuses on body refinement. His form is not imposing, yet he has reached the level of transcendence of primal chaos realm, able to contend with some ordinary godly kings without falling behind. Pinnacle of primal chaos realm, in some fringe nations, is considered the strongest in the primal chaos realm. Yet, in the two great ancient countries, there exist those who are beyond the pinnacle of primal chaos realm and have reached an unimaginable level. If the pinnacle of primal chaos realm was where one's realm touched the threshold of godly king, then the beings at the transcendence of primal chaos realm have a nature of power at the godly king level. However, such beings are scarce, almost all residing in the two great ancient countries. Luo He being able to suppress Marquis Liu Yin naturally means he's somewhat stronger. But he couldn't even force out any of Marquis Liu Yin's life-saving secret techniques, showing that his advantage is limited. Emperor Chu Yu smiled. Once he becomes a guest elder for Emperor Chu's lineage, with better nurturing, I believe he will achieve even greater accomplishments. Being the first to invite a cultivator to the position of guest elder in the primal chaos realm was indeed promising, and Emperor Chu Yu was very happy about it. He knew very well that with the Imperial 13 branches, competition was fierce. The stronger his assistants, the smoother his own path would be. If he could take one more step and reach the level of transcendence of primal chaos realm, the help he brings would be much greater, the Deputy Pavilion Master said. In the Flame-Wind ancient country, the ancient god kings naturally held high status. But in the primal chaos realm, only the transcendental beings of primal chaos realm held a high enough status. The Imperial 13 branches, each branch's imperial members of the primal chaos realm, the numerous disciples under Emperor's tutelage, as well as the disciples of god kings who served as guest elders, and even some independent cultivators of the primal chaos realm, the competition was too fierce. The pinnacle of primal chaos realm? They were barely noticeable among them. Many existences at the pinnacle ultimately chose to lead the Flame-Wind ancient country. I am worried about one thing, the Deputy Pavilion Master said. I have never heard of such a powerful being before, and now suddenly a pinnacle of primal chaos realm appears. What's there to worry about? Emperor Chu Yu laughed. At worst, it's just a transmigrated god king. Indeed, some powerful beings in the land of origin could transmigrate. But for the Flame-Wind ancient country, these were just little waves in the endless ocean. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the Huyang City Lord's mansion, within a graceful building, Luo Feng sat opposite Marquis of Jujiang. This time, I truly have Brother Luo He to thank, Marquis of Jujiang said with deep emotion. In this era, I've traveled across most of the land of origin, visiting many friends, seeking a strong ally. But I couldn't invite even one. Luo Feng also understood. Marquis Liu Yin, a fierce and overbearing figure who stopped at nothing to achieve his goals, made other pinnacles of the primal chaos realm cautious about becoming his enemy. It was Luo Feng, who came to the land of origin through the Samsara channel, who had no attachments, acting even more unrestrainedly. If the entire human race was in the land of origin, and his family and friends were all here, he too would have to think thrice. I understand their difficulties, and I can't offer enough to invite them either. Marquis of Jujiang looked at Luo Feng, moved. And this time, I merely paid a negligible 1 billion cosmic sand, yet Brother Luo He helped me preserve my fief. I really don't know what to say. I want to thank Brother Luo He, but I can't offer anything of sufficient value. Marquis of Jujiang had invested all his resources in his own cultivation. His weapon's secret treasures were too important to himself. To thank someone? He truly didn't have any treasures valuable enough. After much thought, Marquis of Jujiang looked at Luo Feng. Brother Luo He lives in seclusion in Huyang, and has helped the citizens of Huyang on multiple occasions. You must care a lot about this Huyang city. So I've decided to gift this Huyang city to Brother Luo He. From now on, Huyang City only needs to pay 20% of the residence fee to the God Kings. Everything else belongs to Brother Luo He, including all matters of administration in Huyang City. It's all for Brother Luo He to decide. From now on, Huyang City is Brother Luo He's city. Marquis of Jujiang looked at Luo Feng. I find it hard to repay the great kindness of Brother Luo He this time. You must accept Huyang City. Luo Feng was taken aback. Granting a city? After all, Huyang City was within the territory of Yu Kingdom, so paying 20% of the residence fee to the God Kings was mandatory. The other 80% of the residence fees, including some of the city's resource outputs, would all go to him. Marquis of Jujiang, it won't be long before I head to the Flame-Wind ancient country. I won't be able to oversee this Huyang City, Luo Feng said. Brother Luo He, with your current reputation, if you leave a divine power incarnation here, who would dare offend? Marquis of Jujiang immediately said, as for city management, naturally, there are subordinates to handle it. Also, I have a selfish motive. After Brother Luo He leaves Huyang, Marquis Liu Yin is likely to get ideas again. Marquis of Jujiang looked at Luo Feng, but if Huyang City becomes Brother Luo His city, Marquis Liu Yin will definitely not dare to offend again. In reality, I am using a city to preserve my entire fief. Luo Feng looked at Marquis of Jujiang's expectant gaze, thought for a moment, and then nodded. All right, then I'll accept it. Huyang City was the first city he lived in when he came to the land of origin, holding some special significance. And indeed, his presence in the city would definitely deter Marquis Liu Yin from harboring any thoughts of offense. Ha ha ha, thank you, Brother Luo He. Marquis of Jujiang was overjoyed. The entire fief's income, besides the 3 large cities, included 189 ordinary cities. While the income from a single ordinary city was lower, the total could match up to 2 large cities. In actuality, by giving away 1/5 of his fief, he retained the greater portion and also secured a pinnacle-level strong ally. It was extremely worthwhile. With Brother Luo He's intervention, this war has come to an end, Marquis of Jujiang said. Now that Heart Shadow sect is trapped inside the city, what does Brother Luo He plan to do with them? What to do? Luo Feng pondered. The core treasures of this Heart Shadow sect are hidden by the 2 primal Chaos Realm cultivators who have escaped, Marquis of Jujiang said. The Heart Shadow sect's eternal true gods don't have any treasures of great value on them. It's not worth Brother Luo He's time to deal with them. In that case, I'll send my men to loot Heart Shadow sect, and all the treasures will belong to Brother Luo He. As for the Heart Shadow sect itself, let them go. That way, the outside world can't accuse Brother Luo He of being a bully, Marquis of Jujiang said. What does Brother Luo He think? The primal Chaos Realm cultivators, as long as they do not offend him, generally don't bully the weak. Loot their treasures, and let them go. Luo Feng shook his head lightly. When they were rampaging and massacring freely within Huyang City, they had already offended me. Marquis of Jujiang was taken aback. Since they like to massacre and loot so much, there's no need for Heart Shadow sect to exist anymore. They can be disbanded, Luo Feng said. As for those eternal true gods, investigate each one. Not a single one who participated in the massacre within Huyang City shall be spared. Execute all of them. As for those who didn't partake in the massacre, let them go. Disband Heart Shadow sect? Marquis of Jujiang couldn't help but say, Heart Shadow sect still has 2 primal Chaos Realm cultivators out there. Doing so would absolutely offend those 2. If offense leads to offense, so be it. What can they do? Luo Feng looked at Marquis of Jujiang. I don't have as good a temper as Great Saint Ju Yuan. This episode is end here.